Welcome to BizTech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. Today, alongside my co-host Benjamin Ang, head of the Center of Excellence for National Security at NTU, we have a special guest for the day, Dato Dr. Haji Amirudin Abdul Wahab, who's the Chief Executive Officer of CyberSecurity Malaysia, on our special show that focuses on Malaysia. Dato Amir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Now, Dato Amir, for a start, could you give us an overview of Cybersecurity Malaysia and its history?
Well, Cybersecurity Malaysia, we were established as early as 1997 as MyCERT, Malaysia Computer Emergency Response Team. And then we evolved to become NICER, called National Information Security Emergency Response and Center. And then until 2007, we were rebranded with a bigger function, and we were called CyberSecurity Malaysia. At that time, we were under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. But since 2018, we now report to the Ministry of Communications and Digital. So we are the National Technical Reference and Specialist Center in the field of cybersecurity for the nation.
Well, Dato, since you have the overview of everything that's cyber in Malaysia, could you tell us what are the biggest cyber threats that Malaysia faces?
Well, I think like many other countries, Malaysia also face cybersecurity challenges. Not only, I think not only in Malaysia, I think Singapore and various other countries. And the main concern is actually more on the frequency and the sophistication of the cyber attacks. In the context of Malaysia, I would like to quote statistics or data from our own Cyber 999 Help Center, where we receive incidents being reported to us by the netizens in Malaysia. If you look at the trend, for the past few years, we have, I would think, the top three has been consistently is fraud, intrusion, and malicious code. Okay, fraud is a top incident. For example, as of July 2023, we have received total of about 3,327 incidents, and fraud incident is about 2,078, intrusion about 347, and malicious code 332. When I mention about malicious code, it means under that we have a subcategory in which ransomware is there. So I would say fraud, intrusion such as hacking, and malicious code ransomware, I would think is one of the top incidents, prominent, I would say, cyber threats faced in Malaysia. And obviously the escalating menace of ransomware, which I think more and more corporate in Malaysia is facing that. And obviously we always, as an agency of cybersecurity, we advise the agencies or the companies, organizations not to pay the ransom. But these are some of the challenges. In addition to that, I think we are also monitoring the new and emerging technologies such as AI. This advance of AI may also make it a challenges not only to Malaysia but also to other countries around the world. So these are things that I would say as a scenario in the context of Malaysia. In fact, if we look at the past 2 years, where we have an average from about 7 to 10,000 incidents reported to our Cyber 999 Help Center every year. Yeah, it can up and down because the report is voluntary. So, but then in general, it's about that number every year. Thank you.
So this is really quite a huge growth in terms of the attacks, as you mentioned that your top three attacks. What do you think is the level of awareness though among corporates, particularly SMEs in Malaysia?
Well, it's a good question. Always when you talk about cybersecurity, it's about issues of people. Cybersecurity awareness is a concern. Generally, I believe in Malaysia, the awareness is there for public, but it is still low, and I would say a lot of improvements needed. For example, based on the cybersecurity awareness statistics, based on our programs that we engage by cybersecurity with the various publics, we in terms of number that we have reached people this year alone, from January to July, we managed to outreach about 33,486 people. Last year, about 23,869, but we have a bigger number for 2021. This in terms of talks. I'm not saying that overall, because there was no proper baseline studies, but then based on what we engage with the public, that's the numbers. But the concern is more on the SMEs. SMEs, even though they may heard about issues of cybersecurity, I think the awareness, I would think, is still low. We have, in fact, developed a special program for cybersecurity awareness and health check for SMEs in Malaysia. And in 2021, for example, we managed outreach about SMEs about 323. In last year, about 472. And for this year, until July, we managed to outreach about 216 SMEs. So you can see the number actually, to me, still low, but at least the effort has been started. This is based on the events that we organize to cater specifically the SMEs.
Thanks a lot, Dato. I mean, these numbers are very encouraging. What is it that the SMEs get out of this when they join this program?
Well, we have first, we offer them some awareness programs. At the same time, we're also doing some health check, security awareness for them. Then we will know the level of cybersecurity readiness. At the same time, we will provide them these services, we call it the VAPT, and also we do assessment on their risk and compliance, the governance, risk and compliance. At the same time, as part of our program to the SMEs, we provided subsidized training program and awareness to the SMEs. At the same time, we give them a dashboard of their situation. This is part of the government initiative, work through CyberSecurity Malaysia, to start engaging the SMEs. And in fact, it is I would say this health check program was the first cybersecurity program aimed to secure SMEs business for Malaysia. And this is something that from there, we see that a lot of issues actually, for example, in our experience, their take-up on cybersecurity is quite slow, and then not really efficient. Many of these SMEs really they use, okay, I would say outdated technology. They tend to use even some obsolete software and even some pirated software. These are some of the challenges. Some are even for sure lack of awareness and training in terms of the cybersecurity competency. They also don't have a proper guideline, cybersecurity policy, and actually most of them more focused on the business rather than on cybersecurity. So that resulted in lack of investment and resources put into cybersecurity. Further, they themselves have insufficient knowledge with regard to the best practices, such as strong passwords, etc. So all this is a finding that sort of like I would say a wake-up call to many with regards to the awareness and the readiness of our SMEs. But at least we have started, and this has increased the level of awareness, even though I will say the number is still low. But what we want to tell to the SMEs, don't assume you are insignificant, so you are less likely target. And in fact, the truth is that they are the easy targets to be exploited, to get quick and easy cash. So this is something that need to be wary, and so that it can help both them and also the nation.
Well, Dato' Amir, what you're saying is just true in many other countries as well. So I think you are really, it's very important what you all are doing. And I'm very encouraged to hear of what kind of services and awareness you've provided for the SMEs. And I hope that more SMEs take up this opportunity to help to upgrade themselves and to help themselves.
And Dato' Amir, I think what is really interesting, which I think will help this whole awareness equation, is the fact that the health check is the starting point. I'm sure that once your officers go and run this health check for these SMEs, I think for many of them, it's the first time they realize how vulnerable they actually are.
Yes, indeed.
So nothing
And
like
I
a health
think
check to tell you need a doctor.
exactly, you need to call the doctor in to help you and to do some surgery in some areas and so forth. But Dato Amir, what have been the key industries that perhaps Malaysia has been vulnerable to in terms of cyber attack?
Well, those that involve money, those in the business, the e-commerce, those in the financial banking sector. Also, these are the top, I would say, sectors. It's always been, I would say, targeted by many. So somehow, if you look at the statistic I've shared just now about our Cyber 999, see, the 70% of the total incident reported to us are fraud related. So what does it mean? It tends to be very financially motivated. These are the type of attacks that's happening in Malaysia.
Dato, one of the key things that, and Ben and I have spoke about this across several shows and from several markets, is actually the fact that many countries in the region, and I think Malaysia is one of them, that it is not mandatory to report cyber attacks. Is that going to change from a legal perspective moving forward?
Yes, yes and no. Basically, just to share with you, in Malaysia, in addition to CyberSecurity Malaysia, we have several other entities or agencies that is looking into certain aspects of cybersecurity or even data protection. For example, in Malaysia, we have a Personal Data Protection Department. Then under them, they have a PDPA or Personal Data Protection Act 2010. Okay, they have a reporting channel, but at the same time for any data breach notification being done, but it is not mandatory. So they are working towards amending it. In fact, I think maybe probably early next year, it will be pending in Parliament to ensure data breach notification is mandatory. Okay. In the case of cyber, okay, in CyberSecurity Malaysia, as I mentioned earlier, we have Cyber 999 Help Center. The report is voluntary. So some people may report, some people may not report. I always say that whatever the number that has been reported to us, the incident is just a sample of a bigger number that out there that is not reported to us. However, in the context of Malaysia, we are already developing, in the process of developing a Cybersecurity Act. Maybe Singapore and some of the countries already have one. Malaysia do not have yet, but we are moving towards that. And the National Security Council is driving that. And probably we hope also sometime next year, they will incorporate also the element of, I would say, mandatory report. That's why I say yes or no, because it has yet to be implemented. But there has been some, I would say, suggestion for it to be made mandatory. So these are things have been in debate. But the main thing is that the trend, especially when it comes to data breach notification, that one is almost confirmed. Based on my understanding, they are going to push for a mandatory notification to the data protection department if incident of data breach happen.
Well, I think people heard it here first, or if they hadn't heard it yet, this is very, very interesting things coming down the pipeline in terms of regulation and legislation. So I will be definitely keeping our eyes peeled to see what happens in this space. And speaking of what's happening in this space, Dato, I mean, earlier on you mentioned you're also concerned about AI and the relation to cyber. Could you tell us a bit more about that as we talk about what's coming in the future?
Well, we know AI is a concern because while we use AI to defend, the cyber criminals can use the AI to maneuver around it, and exploit our vulnerabilities to attack. So it always, I would say, something that is always evolving. So obviously, the need to integrate the element of AI and cybersecurity together. Normally, we all understand cybersecurity practitioner and IT practitioner, they are different in set. So the AI may focus on AI, but they may not have the security mindset. while cybersecurity experts, they may not have the expertise on the subject of AI. But then these are technologies that is going to be a norm in the future. So we need to study, and that's what we are doing as a National Technical Reference and Specialist Center. We started to embark into this area, and then to link it to the element of cybersecurity. Some of our products are looking into that also. This, I believe, something that is not yet mature in many countries. We are also doing research work in our labs, our Center of Excellence, etc. But we also taking this opportunity to provide awareness to our stakeholders, to the general stakeholders in the public or private sectors, public at large, giving them awareness also at the same time, not just about focusing on research and development, but also about giving awareness to tell them this is coming. Like it or not, we need to be ready. We need your support, and you have to play part, because cybersecurity is not a matter of government, nor a role of cybersecurity alone. Everyone has to play part. It's a shared responsibility. So they need to be aware of this. Sometimes I do not want the expectation too high to cybersecurity, when actually it's beyond us. And these are the situation. We as an agency, we know with all the increasing threats everywhere there, new technologies. They thought, what have CyberSecurity Malaysia done? Why attacks keep happening? Well, attacks, you can't stop. It happens not only in Malaysia, it's global. And not only happen every day, it happens every second. So these are things that they need to be aware. And if they themselves don't take measures, they can't blame us. They have to take accountability also. And that's what they need to have some understanding also of the issue of AI. And then at the same time, do the necessary to protect themselves, while we also try to see wherever we can.
Dato Amir, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a fascinating conversation. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, when we talk about cybersecurity, I always like to mention that this is not a matter of one entity or one agency to handle it alone. We need to work together, both locally, domestically, and also at the international level. And I'm happy that's why I'm happy that I'm honored to be invited by BizTech today to invite and share this knowledge. I also can learn from all the experience being shared by others, because as we all know, the cyber criminals out there, they don't work in silo. They don't work alone. They work concerted effort among the various experts around the world. So we should do the same. Thank you.
On that note, Dato Amir, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We've been speaking to Dato Dr. Haji Amirudin Abdul Wahab, Chief Executive Officer of CyberSecurity Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to BizTech's Cybersecurity Show. The show will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.